Welcome back to the Talk Healing to Me podcast. This is your solo episode, and I'm diving into the conversation I had with Barry Moore, founder of Vitality Neuro Rehab, and now one of our expert movement practitioners here at MS to Success. So Barry brings decades of neuro rehab experience, but what makes him so special is how he fuses that clinical brain-based background with heart, humour and holistic healing. So his work is far more than muscles. It's about belief. And there was one quote that he shares that hit me right in the gut. If you were told you had 6 months left, would you want to look back and wonder what might have happened if you tried? Or would you want to look back with 6 months of progress? So that line really did stop me in my tracks. And I think it's probably something that we can all take into any walk of life. So I'm going to give you the top 10 takeaways from my chat with Barry Moore, from nerves to new strength. What happens after the neural pathways reconnect? This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your doctor. Views shared are personal and not a substitute for professional guidance. Whether you're walking or wheeling or wobbling, trying is progress. And Barry reminded us it's not about perfection, it's about momentum. And if you're trying with intention, it really beats waiting in fear every single time. The second point was progress can happen after years of stuck. So he's worked with people who haven't moved their legs in over 20 years and still found new strength. So if the brain can change, the body can follow, even if you've been told otherwise. And we see it a lot of times. We've had people who've been, in a wheelchair for 13 years and they were told, oh no, you can't do this, and yet now they're standing or walking up and down steps or being able to transfer that a little bit easier. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end when we share some client wins specifically. The next point was support isn't optional, it's essential. So Barry made it crystal clear, no one heals alone. Progress accelerates when you're surrounded by people who believe in your body even when you don't. So maybe, perhaps the question to ask is, do I have the right people around me to help me win? We've all, and I'm sure you all have people that you can point to really easily that say, oh my goodness, they really light me up. They definitely cheer me on. And you've probably got other people, and it might be operating just from a place of fear that might say, oh no, you can't do that, or be very careful, who kind of maybe aren't as excited about what's possible for you. So it is really important to do that recce on who it is that you're listening to. One of the points I'm always saying to my kids is you are the average sum of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. So choose wisely. And that's not like a warning necessarily, but it's more a case of be mindful of who it is that you take advice from. If they haven't walked in your shoes, you're not going to take advice from someone who hasn't experienced what it is that you're experiencing. You've got to find the who, not necessarily always the how. So the next point was movement mentality is new mentality. So movement mentality is one of Barry's words for the mindset that movement is non-negotiable, not just for legs or arms. It's organs, circulation, energy, and hope. And the question that I asked him was, what is the one thing that you would tell someone to do? And maybe it's someone that's sitting at a desk all day. Maybe it's someone who just doesn't get to move a lot for whatever reason, might be a little bit more sedentary. And he spoke about posture, but he also talked about that rocking back and forth motion and then the moving side to side. But I'd never heard that before, that it actually really helps keep your organs healthy as well and in position too. Who would have thought? The next point was you don't have to do it all. You just have to start. So Barry sees it all the time. People waiting for the perfect moment. We definitely see it in MS to Success, but it never comes. Start where you're at. The brain learns by doing. And that perfectly imperfect action will always add up to more than doing nothing, even if it feels uncomfortable or even if you're not getting it right. Like in our movement plans with our clients, and they change every month because people, as they start, they progress at different rates, and dexterity, movement ability improves as they go through it, and each person is at a different pace. But every single time at the beginning of their new plan, they will find some of those moves a little bit difficult, not overly difficult, because we don't want people feeling like they can't do it, but we'll always move people that between 3%, 10%, that little bit more, depending on where they're at and what they're up for and what their goals are and how they're feeling. But it will always feel a little bit difficult when you start it. And then the beautiful thing is they come back onto the calls, and you'll hear it in the wins that we share every week here as well. It's like, oh my goodness, I could do that so much easier now. So it's really, really great for us to physically see but more importantly, that somebody can recognize those shifts in themselves with things that they couldn't do before. Like Jay, as an example that we mentioned before, who's lifting her legs in and outside of bed each and every night, and even her husband noticing. We shared in one of the past episode wins. The next point was healing is both brain and body. So neuroplasticity isn't woo-woo, it's science, but it requires both the physical input and the mental belief. So it's not one or the other, it's both. Again, that's why it's so important to have that whole body approach. The mindset, the movement, the nutrition, the self-care, the stress management, the sleep, the hormones, the everything else. It can't be just concentrating on one thing, because you're missing the whole other picture as well. So I loved that Barry is absolutely aligned in all of that as well and sees those results from that too. The next point was sitting isn't the problem, stagnation is. So many of us are sitting more than we used to, like I mentioned earlier, but Barry's point, sitting doesn't mean stopping. You can still be seated and strong. So I wondered, like, what is the difference between being seated and being still? Like in our movement program for our seated clients that are chair users, there's so much that you can do to keep the blood flow going, to keep the central nervous system awake and alive, and the body and brain connected, and those neural pathways firing and wiring in a different way that if you were sitting and not doing anything at all. And it doesn't have to be huge movements that are really complicated or hard. They can be small, steady things that build up that resilience, that strength over time. The next point was most people underestimate the power of repetition. So you don't need a new move. You don't need all these fancy, must learn the new, whatever's on trend. You just need consistent input into the nervous system. So that movement really is a message. And that consistency is the hardest thing. Oh my goodness. I have to fight my own internal voice because she just wants to sit on her ass, I'll be honest. So yeah, that consistency, even if it's small, we have a baseline non-negotiable that's between 3 to 4 minutes, that if you don't have the time or you're just busy or you really don't want to, not a problem. Here's the baseline 3 minutes that anybody can do. And then you have that sense of accomplishment, and then your body has moved in a way that you still feel good. You're giving it what it needs as well. The next point was we need more than hope. We need a plan. So hope is a spark, and it's absolutely brilliant and it's really important. But hope with structure, that's transformation. So our approach and Barry's approach is personalized and it's practical and it's powerful. So the plan really, really is imperative. So your next 6 months, they could look totally different. What if you really gave it a go? What if you built that strength slowly and steadily and supported? And what if you didn't have to look back with the what ifs? I really, really loved that line, that trading in the fear for progress instead, and really making that time count. I love that. And what a perfect way to finish on that. I want to share our client correspondence before we share those wins. What are they saying about this?
This episode of Talk Healing to Me is sponsored by Clean Boss, created by Joy Mangano, the legendary inventor behind the Miracle Mop and a pioneer in clean innovation. Clean Boss is a botanical disinfectant that kills 99.9% of viruses, germs, and bacteria. It's safe for food surfaces, soft surfaces, and baby high chairs with no toxic ingredients and no rinse required. It's also a degreaser, odor eliminator, and all-purpose cleaner that works as hard as the chemical-heavy stuff without the health risks. Check it out at getcleanboss.com/Karen for a clean, better, and living safer life.
Karen, that Barry Moore episode hit me like a lightning bolt. I listened to it twice. That bit about trying instead of looking back with what ifs, I felt like he was speaking straight to me. And that's from Elaine. I love that, Elaine. Well, thanks for listening twice. How cool. The next one comes from Marion. Says, "Wow, I just finished the Barry episode and it gave me hope in a way that I haven't felt in a while. I've been sitting in fear and now I'm making a plan. Thank you for this gift." Well, Barry, thank you. He's marvellous. The next one, so powerful. I loved how Barry spoke about movement for organ health. I never thought of it that way before. I shared this episode with a couple of friends. It's too important not to. And that's from Teresa. How cool, Teresa. Thanks for sharing. And I really, really appreciate it. Let's share our client with. They're absolutely brilliant. M completed another independent walk, this time bringing her movement tools with her for support, boosting her balance and her confidence. How cool, how cool, how cool. H recommitted to doing her movement plan twice daily this week and feels the benefits of it. Kay used her movement plan almost daily, moved furniture solo in her sewing room, and swam even in circles with determination and humour. I love that. B started using her new trainers and avoided a fall by turning the impact on gait and foot awareness. How very cool indeed. There's a set of trainers that our clients, there's 3 or 4 of them that I've bought them on the last little while, and have a chat with them and see if they'll come on. But they sound really cool, but I haven't tried them yet, so I won't recommend anything that I haven't tried myself. I'll come back to you on those. S said she bounced back energetically from a tough day using her mindset tools to reset and recharge. Very cool indeed. And L attended her in-person exercise class for the first time in a while. Go you. C completed multiple chores without fatigue, showing major progress in stamina and pacing. And she's just become a grandmother for the first time over the last little while. So cool instead, having all that energy to help out as well. S said she added daily squats with her moving plan, easing stiffness and building strength, even set up the reminder every hour to do them 10 times. One thing that we've been talking about in our movement was these movement snacks and doing squats, particularly for people that are seated a lot, is every hour doing 10 squats. One of the tools that I use is it's a tool called Focus Mate. I'm going down a little rabbit hole here, but I'll share it with you because I've done over 1,300 sessions, well over 1,200 sessions for sure. And it's where you match with people across the world. And if I have any tasks that I'm maybe procrastinating on, you match with someone, you go on camera, you say what it is you want to get done, you mute, you do the task, and then you celebrate each other. You come off mute and at the end as well. But in my profile on my name, I have Karen, and then in brackets, ask me to do 10 squats. So every time I do one of these, someone says, oh, do 10 squats. And I'm like, oh, I forgot. And I don't want to do them. But then when I do them, I feel so good afterwards. And it definitely helps with energy and actually just the sense of accomplishment in moving as well, because I'm sitting for quite a while all day, every day. So S took that on as well. And she said she can feel that strength building up. So if you're ready to move forward, if Barry's words spark something in you, you don't need to wait. Our seated program that we do once a year is just about to open in a few weeks from now. So if you are interested, you can register your interest and we'll do an assessment with you and figure out if or how we can support you. So whether you're brand new to this kind of movement or if you've been with us already for a while, Barry is now part of our team and ready to work with you. So you can book in a call with us at yourmscoach.com, or if you want to find Barry yourself and have a look, maybe it's for one of your loved ones or someone that's dealing with a spinal cord injury or some movement trauma, you can find him at Vitality Neuro Rehab too. I really want to leave the message with you of let's trade in what if for what's next instead. So in the meantime, keep talk healing to yourself and we shall talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you to our sponsors of this episode. You can visit getcleanboss.com/Karen. And also a thank you to our video and podcast producer and editor, Aoife McNamara at Imagine Media. Thank you.